Today, we're diving into a forensic, tactical deconstruction of a brutally intense ancient skirmish. As a military historian, I absolutely love doing this. We aren't just casually reading history today, we are tearing it apart, frame by frame. We're going to examine the precise intersection of military engineering, psychological discipline, and the absolute terrifying reality of close-quarters combat. So, what actually happens when perfect individual execution meets a catastrophic macro-level failure? Well, let's find out.
The Roman line exploded into motion. That single sentence from our primary sources instantly drops us right into the absolute chaos of the battlefield. But don't let that word exploded fool you. This wasn't some uncontrolled blast. It was a highly orchestrated, incredibly violent release of kinetic energy. The waiting is over, the static line is gone, the assault has officially begun.
To understand the Roman war machine, we start at the macro-tactical level. Part 1. The opening. Power of the pilum.
Let's break down the sheer physics of this volley. Step 1, the pilum spears soar through the air. Step 2, they strike and pierce the enemy's shields. But step 3 is where the absolute genius of Roman military doctrine shines through. They actually bend on impact. You see, the Romans intentionally used an untempered, soft iron shank right behind a hardened point. So by bending after piercing wood and leather, the weapon becomes this massive, dragging deadweight. You literally cannot pull it out in the heat of battle. Which brings us to step 4. The enemy's shield is rendered entirely useless. They are forced to drop their primary defense before the hand-to-hand fighting even starts. It's brilliant. And the immediate result of that volley? The enemy line faltered. Now this brief, momentary falter is exactly what Roman military doctrine was engineered to produce. It creates a precise, localized vulnerability, a literal fracture in the enemy's unit cohesion. And as we know, in ancient warfare, a fraction of a second of hesitation is blood in the water. That was all Rome needed.
Moving right along to the actual impact. Phase 2, collision, iron discipline.
For Rome, this unified battle cry rips across the field just before the lines meet. But viewing this through the lens of tactical analysis, this is way more than just a loud shout. It's a vital, engineered psychological tool. It synchronizes the men. It steels their nerves right before a highly lethal impact. It essentially binds the individual soldier directly to the collective machine. And then, the collision. The sensory details from our source text paint a picture of absolute devastation. A thunderous clash, steel meeting steel, shields slamming together, men screaming. It creates a complete sensory overload that would instantly paralyze an untrained combatant. And it's within this specific, brutal physiological and psychological context that we're going to isolate our micro-tactical case study. We're zooming in now, leaving the macro view behind. Phase 3, micro battle, Marcus. This is a fascinating contrast that perfectly illustrates the core difference in military doctrine happening right down in the dirt. On one hand, you have Marcus representing the Roman ideal, precision, efficient strikes, calculated thrusts. Contrasted directly against him is a towering northern warrior clad in furs and iron, completely driven by rage, wild swings, and reckless power. This is the ultimate clash of paradigms, guys. Cold, drilled discipline, acting as a force multiplier, going up against raw, emotional brute force. As the wild, powerful swings of the northern warrior come raining down, Marcus doesn't panic. He just waits. He watches. He lets the enemy overextend all that reckless energy, and then, in a fraction of a second, a quick thrust. Clean. You have to remember, the Roman gladius wasn't designed for wild cinematic slashing. It was literally an engineer's tool, designed for a tightly controlled 2-inch thrust from within densely packed infantry formations. When utilized correctly, at the perfect close-quarters distance, its metallurgical design and biomechanical efficiency are absolutely terrifying. It's incredibly clinical.
Fatal. The giant falls. This micro-battle concludes with a definitive victory for our Roman soldier. What we just analyzed was a flawless execution of individual tactical training. Marcus did exactly what the Roman war machine trained him to do. He weathered the emotional storm of his enemy and countered with lethal mechanical precision.
But we have to remember the golden rule of warfare. Phase 4, the situational shock. This leads us to a massive question. Does an individual victory actually decide the overall outcome? It is the terrifying paradox of ancient warfare. You can be the perfect soldier. You can strike with ultimate precision. You can literally watch the giant fall at your feet. But your personal triumph means absolutely nothing if the tactical infrastructure,
the very machine you rely on to secure your flanks, fails around you.
Because as Marcus looks up, with no time even to take a breath, his heart sinks. The Roman line was breaking. Despite the perfect metallurgical engineering of the Pilum, despite the iron psychological discipline of the battle cry, and despite flawless individual execution in microcombat, the collective tactical structure was collapsing. In the brutal mathematics of war, a shattered line instantly erases the triumphs of the individual hero. So it forces us to ask, in the end, does individual perfection matter at all if the system itself is destined to fail?